Welcome to What's Up, Bolts? I'm Fernando Ramirez. That means that cowboy hat wearing, sunglass donning, son of a gun is Dan
Woo!
and Dago. Obviously, right now, just a couple of minutes ago, the Chargers beat the Falcons 20-17. Cameron Dicker, who would have thought, comes in. He's a third kicker this year for the Chargers. Ends up nailing, I think, a 37-yarder to win the game. Chargers hoist them up. The players hoist them up, and they walk away with the victory. They improve now to 5-3. Dan, how are you feeling after the game?
You know what? There was a lot of you know how I am after W's. It's always like we say when we're about to go watch film. You're not as good as you think, and you're not as bad as you think, but you're gonna find out on tape the next day. That's how I kind of feel about this game. The Chargers, in my mind, should have won this game by a little bit more, but I mean, it is what it is. You have injuries and stuff like that. But I mean, it was a very much needed victory. You and I can both agree, Frau, in years past, this would have been the type of team you lose to, and then you're even deeper in the hole.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, the um the reality is the Chargers have injuries. And I mean, we talked about it. They definitely here's Keenan Allen after the game. He put let's go. Obviously, a couple of after the Browns game, some people were like, "Oh, he wrote WTF are we doing?" But look, let's go. He's excited, he's happy. The team's
That's not
five
gonna
and
get
three.
reported, Frau, please. That's not gonna get reported. Now no one cares about his Twitter because it's positive.
Well, I know. And the funniest part is that that's what we've been talking about this whole time, kind of. The Chargers just need to hold on. They need to hold on for dear life. I know that there's injuries happening and stuff, but they just need to hold on to dear life for dear life until they get Joey back, Keenan back,
Yep.
now
Yep.
Mike back. Like they're gonna have to wait a little bit, but if this team can hold on and kind of in these next 4 games, maybe go 2-2, something of that combination, they'll be able to survive. But let's go back to this game. I mean, it was honestly an interesting matchup. I mean, the Falcons and the Chargers are two similar teams we saw. They both have been in a lot of one score games. I think the Chargers were second and the Falcons were third in most one score games since 2020. So they're similar teams. They have some similar things. But Dan, I want to talk about real quick. Just I honestly thought Joe Lombardi had a pretty good game plan coming in. It was let's run the football, let's do some RPO stuff, let's do some different things to kind of mix and match. I mean, honestly, it was Joshua Palmer, Michael Bandy,
Let's
and
go.
and DeAndre Carter as the 3 main weapons today for the
Yep.
Chargers. Jason Moore wasn't really used. But they had to do with what they had, and I thought that they had a pretty good game plan coming in.
100%. But like, that's the thing. Can you please start telling that stooge, that clown, that scumbag, that when you start running the football effectively, get
What?
ahead of the chains on first and second down,
What?
freaking have routes fitted to the receivers that they're good at so they can succeed.
What?
And make smart decisions. That's how you win football games, dude. You control the clock, you stay ahead of the chains, you tire out the defense, and that's how you start building towards something successful. The problem is sometimes in this game, the drives that were unsuccessful usually started off with some stupid on first down. You're behind the chains. Some stupid on second down, you'll get a little bit, and then you were up with third and long. Well, that's not how you're going to win a lot of close games if you're always in third and long. You don't need to be flashy, sexy every single play and go down the field. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to get those 3 yards running effectively with the football.
Yeah,
Which,
no,
by the way,
definitely.
my bad to cut you off. This was the thing I forgot to say before I was done. Isaiah Spiller, little shout out to that guy. He would look pretty
Yeah.
good in there.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that, but obviously to begin the game, Chargers, I don't know for what reason, in the last 4 weeks, they are the third team in NFL history to trail by 10 points at the end of the first quarter in 4 straight games. And in 3 out of 4, they've come back and they've won each of them. The other one that they didn't was the Seattle Seahawks game. But wow, like they really put themselves in a hole. That first drive, the Falcons literally carved them up
Yep. Yep.
Play after play. I mean, right here, I'm going to look at it. They do Cordero Patterson 9 yards, Patterson 7 yards, Algier 44-yard run. Marcus
Yep.
Mariota 6 yards. Marcus Mariota passed to Pruitt for 6. One incompletion, and then a 2-yard by Cordero, and then a Cordero 1-yard run. So that's the thing. They had a lot of positive yards. They were running the football effectively. I'm surprised at one point that Atlanta kind of gave up on the run a little bit, because they were literally forcing it down the Chargers' throat, and it's like, okay, like why do teams suddenly go away from that? That's really something that boggles my mind. And then the next drive, the Chargers or they got down by about 10-0, and on the next drive, big plays. Kyle Pitts 18 yards, Mariota to Drake London 12 yards. Mariota scrambles for 5. Then what was the big play on here? And then Young Wei Koo makes a 29-yard field goal. So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. Like, the Chargers were just giving up way too much at the beginning, and it was kind of like, okay, like why is it taking so long? And it feels like the Chargers kind of take the first quarter to kind of adjust, and because on the next drive they punted again, and so then after that, the Falcons, the Chargers defense kind of woke up on the third drive. Yeah, the third Falcons drive, and they held Atlanta to their first punt of the game. Why? Because Drew Tranquil came straight, shot up through the middle. He was able to sack. He was able to sack. Marcus Mariota, and it was his first. It was his third sack of the season, and it was just a good play by Drew. He just shot right back up. He was smart with it. He sacks him, and then they had to punt. And that's when the Chargers kind of got going offensively. But it really, Dan, in my opinion, it kind of, I know that the defense is the one giving up the points, but it kind of feels like the defense is kind of the Energizer Bunny that as soon as they make one play, one positive play, the offense kind of gets jump started on the other side, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like I've gone into arguments with the Stooge and everybody else in chats and other places. This defense is not a freaking Legion of Boom-esque defense. It's the type that's bend, don't break, and you've seen that in the games if you watch the games. Like, I understand, obviously, the performance against like, in my mind, the performance against Jacksonville and the Seahawks is the anomaly. Like, what the real, type of defense has been the other games where they're going to give you yardage. They're going to give you plays, positive yards. But, like, usually in that red zone area, they're usually, for the most part, going to hold you to field goals. And we've seen that in a couple games because the Chargers have been in one-score games, and then they just haven't either put it together or something negatives happen always. But that's the way this defense has been. That's why, I continue to say, for the most part, the defense has been the strong suit. But that's just the way it is right now. It's been the type of bend, don't break defense. And you can still win a lot of games. The Patriots did it for many years, having that type of bend, don't break defense. But they just have to be effective. They have to be effective in the run game because right now that's the biggest Achilles heel. And going back to why the question you asked about why they stopped running the football in the second half, the Atlanta Falcons, I can tell you for now. It is because the ghosts of Super Bowl past came back to haunt the Atlanta Falcons. That's why. It's because just like in that Super Bowl, they started running the football and they started passing. Same thing right here. They tried to do the same thing and it didn't work. Because seriously, if you look at the game as a whole, the Chargers should have won by at least a touchdown because they scored, I think, a touchdown off of that interception, which gave them great field position to begin with. So, I mean, they were operating on a short field, so it is what it is.
Okay, I just want to take a quick detour. I just saw this tweet from Lil Wayne. Oh, crap. I don't know what way to take it. We're going to take a little bit of a detour. He's a Packers fan. He goes, RIP to the season. We should have gotten rid of 12 before the season. Damn. Now, my question is he taking a shot at Aaron Rodgers? Like, we need him out of here. We shouldn't have we should have just gone with Love? Or does he mean like, oh, we should have just like let him go somewhere else, try and win somewhere else? I don't know if he's taking it for the negatives or the positives, but damn. That's a shot. If I haven't seen one before, that's pretty crazy. But
well, the dude's smoking the devil's lettuce anyway, so who knows how he meant it.
Well, yeah, but that's just crazy to see him say that. Going back to the Chargers game, I know Emmanuel Ocho, this will piss him off, but Justin Herbert was very effective today, and he put together a pretty good game. Or the only mistake that they had was and that's been my not my issue, because I mean it's not up to me or none of that's me, but I think Joshua Palmer's been very inconsistent this year. Today, great game, 8 catches, 107 yards or 8 yards. He did very well. My only issue with him is that there's times where he drops his hands. He does something
Lifts up his
really
eyes.
weird. Yeah, he does
Yeah.
something really weird always in every game. And this one, it hits his helmet. The ball hits his helmet. It gets popped up, and here goes Atlanta to intercept the ball. When the Chargers were moving the ball well at that point, you're kind of like, dude, come on. Like, you kind of killed the momentum of you kind of killed the momentum that the team had. But opening or the drive where they first got the drive where they first got started, obviously he hits Palmer on 3rd and 15, hits Palmer for a 25-yard gain. Then a couple of plays later, it's 3rd down again, hits Joshua Palmer for another 10 yards. Then and a couple of plays later, they get on a 3rd down again. Gerald Everett gets hit for a 12-yard gain. So they really were picking it up on another 3rd down. Herbert hits Michael Bandy. So they were picking up yards and everything. And that's why they scored with Austin Ekeler, a 2-yard touchdown. But that's the thing. They were picking up 3rd downs. They were doing everything effectively, and they were moving the ball up very well. And so that's why they were able to kind of pick it up on offense. But the thing is, once you get behind, like you've said, but once you get behind on 3rd downs and you're not picking them up, that's when the struggles happen.
Yeah, because in 3rd and short, your whole playbook's open. You can still run the football. You could run a trap. You can run a counter. You can run other things to get the 6 yards you need, especially 3rd and short. Then it's the whole playbook you could run. But it's like when you get it in 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 15s, now you're only looking at shot plays, and all they have to do is defend the sticks. And that's always been to the advantage of the defense. But going back to what you were talking about, Josh Palmer not looking catches in and stuff like that, like I think you would agree also, there was a lot of like little mental errors today where in the sense he drops the football, doesn't look at it, and gets intercepted. Gerald Everett gets hit beautifully. He was almost naked on that, like, I think it was like a vert or whatever, drops the football. Then you have, a hard time with the edges, except probably Khalil Mack setting the edge. And that's a huge problem because they were getting outside. Then inside, you had tackles getting scooped or logged. And when you get scooped or logged for now as a defensive lineman, obviously, if they scoop you or log you this way, you're supposed to fight across his face and get over because obviously the ball's going to come this way because that's where he's shielding you from, right? That's where his back is. And, you saw guys just fight under it. And it's like, you're not going to get there, guy. You're not running a 4.40. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to sometimes people forget how important the fundamentals is just because they're professionals, if that makes sense. Like, then you see guys tackling almost at eye level, and I'm sure none of their coaches ever told them to tackle at eye level.
Hey, this is Cameron Dicker. Just hit the game winner right there. Let's go. Bolt up,
no
baby.
Big deal. No big deal. What a dog.
Exactly. No, I completely understand. No. And I'm not saying this was a perfect game by any stretch.
Oh yeah, no,
anything.
No,
there was a lot of plays where you're like, dude, come on. Like, you can't be giving up plays like that. And I think the interception, if I'm not mistaken, it happened after the Gerald Everett. No, it did not. No, my bad. The Gerald Everett thing.
No, it was after
that was the start of the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
It
was after the Khalil Mack strip.
Another thing is we have to commend the Chargers for their 2-minute offense on both ends before halftime and then before to end the game. Right here, they have a minute 56 left. They gave 32 seconds to Atlanta, but whatever, that doesn't matter. So they go and blah 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 blah. They face a 3rd and 1. Austin Ekeler picks it up on a short pass from Herbert. Then they face 3rd and 5. 23-yard pass to DeAndre Carter to pick that up. Then Herbert hits Austin Ekeler for the 1-yard touchdown. So they were pretty effective in that aspect of it, but there are some concerns still where the offense freezes out. They have some plays where you're like, okay, what's going on? Like, why didn't you pick that up?
Well, especially it's like we've always talked about. There's moments in the game, and you can feel it Or it's like you're telling yourself mentally, if not to your teammates, your team, or whoever, all right, perfect. We had X happen. Now it's time to take control of the game. This is a perfect opportunity to start separating ourselves from the other opponent or our opponent and start to put the game away.
I completely agree. Cameron Dicker has now played in 2 games this NFL season. Week 5 for the Eagles, week 9 for the Chargers. He has made a game-winning field goal in both games. That's according to Field Yates. So the kid seems to have ice in his veins. Which I mean, to be completely fair, so is Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah,
he made the game one against the Broncos with a bum leg. This guy's made one now. So the Chargers, the kicking hasn't really been the issue this year, the way it has in special teams in general hasn't been the issue like it has in years past. This year it's been the offense and the defense. The offense can't get it going. The defense can't stop other teams from getting going. And then they flip. The defense can stop teams. The offense can't do anything. And it's like, okay, what tomatoes? Like, what the hell is going on? So, but definitely, I know.
Well, you already know also in years past, if we were down to a second, third kicker, those guys would be missing field goals like crazy. This year, we finally have been clutch with that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I completely agree. And obviously, so that's it's funny. I just thought about it today when we were watching the game because I saw people like everybody knows what happened. Before the game ended, Austin Ekeler fumbles the football. One of the guys from the let me see where the
that was unbelievable, dude. Jobs.
Austin Ekeler. Oh, Graham picks it up. He's a big guy. Takes off running. He just fumbles out of nowhere. Like he just fumbles the football. And I know when Austin Ekeler fumbled, everybody was having PTSD and they're like, "Oh my god, no!" Like Charger or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
well, you remember there was one year he did that, like in 2 or 3 straight games where he fumbled in the clutch.
It was 2019.
Chargers ended up losing the game.
2019. 2019, he did that a lot. And then obviously Graham fumbles the football. Matt Filer ends up picking it up, and the Chargers end up having the ball moving forward to end the game. Herbert hits Palmer, and then they run the ball out, and then Cameron hits it. But as soon as that happened, when the Chargers gave the football away, then the Falcons gave the ball away. I remember this meme. It was during COVID and everything and empty stadiums, and I know nobody wants to relive that. But I thought about this, what the Falcons had tweeted out a couple of years ago when they played the Chargers, because that year the Chargers and the Falcons were very similar. I think they had both like blown a lot of leads. They had both blown a lot of games, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're very similar." But it was hilarious because I remember I was walking from the parking lot into the stadium, and I see that, and I'm like, "Dude, I need to meet the Falcons social media person." Unfortunately, I think they were on the field or somewhere else, but I wanted to meet them because that was hilarious. Like this meme was so funny. And Mike Evans is down on the field. God, congratulations, Fernando, your fantasy team.
He's going to hell real quick, dude.
I know, even though I'm undefeated and won, and I've only lost one game in another. But
shout out to Mel Kiper's best, dude.
I know.
Also, shout out to our nephew Tommy. He was at the game talking trash to Falcon fans, reminding them of the Super Bowl. So that was funny.
But yeah, that was hilarious. The what's it called? This meme is just hilarious, and it stands true even 2 years later. Well, a year and 11 months because they played a couple of weeks later. But here is real quick. Oh wait, no. Here is Josh Palmer sending a shout out to receiver Keenan Allen, who we said let's go. Well, this is what Joshua Palmer
shout out
sent out to Keenan.
Keenan, I hope you're watching. Remember what you told me on Friday? Yeah. See me about it. Keenan.
For people who are on the audio version, it was Keenan kind of dancing and him like on fire. So I don't know what I'm gonna have to find that out this week. What did Keenan tell Josh Palmer? But yeah, no, like I said, Josh Palmer had a strong game. The thing is, there are little things here and there where you're like, okay, like you need to put it all together. But Palmer's a good player. He's solid. He's done some things. He's better when Keenan and Mike are both on the field because guys, they're not focused on him. But yeah, no, Chargers. You know what? And two other plays that we do need to pick out there are these two. Hold on, let me get these together. Another play. Oh, that re-energized the Chargers was after they scored the touchdown, they gave the ball back to the Falcons. The Falcons were stopped again. They went 3 and out because Derwin James sacked Marcus Mariota. That's Derwin James's third sack of the season for 8 yards, and that was what was able to stop them from getting the ball and being able to maybe take it before halftime and score some points. So definitely the defense stepped up when it needed to today. Another play that I wanted to shout that obviously deserves a little bit of recognition is Khalil Mack. Now, let me ask, I heard he was washed. I heard that he wasn't good. I heard that he doesn't make an impact anymore. And yeah, he might have not gotten the sack today, but he had a heads-up play where he hit Drake London coming out of his break. Then while Michael Davis was dancing with him, I don't know what he was doing.
That wasn't an attempt at a tackle, guy.
Yeah, so like while he was kind of dancing with him, Khalil Mack just comes in, grabs the ball out of his hands, and he returns it for a couple of yards. But if you see Brandon Staley on that play, he is celebrating. He's getting hyped, getting excited.
He
and that's just
down,
because
dude.
exactly.
He was running on the sideline, I think.
That's just because Brandon knows the kind of player that Khalil is. He knows how big he is. So obviously, so he knows how good Khalil is. He knows what kind of an impact Khalil's going to make. Khalil has, I think, in 8 games, 6 sacks. So that's huge. I mean, and I'm sure once Joey comes back and once things kind of get going a little bit more, I'm sure they'll get better. Now, the one thing that we do have to point out is that Trey Pipkins did hurt his knee. He was taken off. He didn't come back. Austin Johnson hurt. He was pointing at his left knee. Yeah. He was questionable to return. He didn't come back. We'll see. I'm sure Brian will probably give us more of an update tomorrow. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at Real F Ramirez. I'll have all that stuff for you when we talk to Brandon on Monday and see what update he gives us. Dan, another thing that I wanted to now let's go a little bit towards the stats. Like I said, Emmanuel Acho will not be happy. Justin Herbert, 30 of 43. 245. The one thing I did want to talk about real quick, and like we said, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Like when Derwin is not back there as a safety,
my God, yeah,
there's concern.
Yeah,
there is concern. Kyle Pitts was open numerous times, and Marcus just didn't get. If that's Justin throwing to Kyle Pitts, Justin completes those passes. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Marcus is not. Well, I'm just being realistic.
Yeah.
There's times where you're like, exactly. So there's times where you're like, oh wow. There was times where they had gotten behind the safeties and they were just lucky that Marcus had overthrown it. That's a little bit of a concern. And I know it's Alohi Gilman, it's Nasir Adderley, but there has to be a little bit of a concern there for.
Well, on top of that, it's not like the system's new to them anyway.
I know.
I'm pretty sure it's the second year in the system. Yeah, they're like it's their third year in the NFL. Like you're telling me you haven't improved at all, or like you're still having.
And Nas has already been benched once this season.
Exactly.
So he got benched against Cleveland. But I don't know what it is. But those guys, when they're in, some weird stuff happens, and the guys get behind them, and
especially because the whole like mystique, which obviously shout out to Derwin, he's a freaking dog. I saw him at Edge today, and I was pretty hyped. But the whole thing about Derwin, which makes him such a important player on the defense, is that he can move all over the place, right? From safety to backer to corner to slot, all this stuff, right? So if you have two safeties who can't step up when they decide to move them in more or closer to the line of scrimmage, that's a huge problem because you eliminate one of the biggest, I guess, matchups that could be advantageous to the Chargers as a whole. Like if you can't move Derwin around, that's gonna be a huge problem. Because
Well, that's what the problem was last year. That was the
yeah,
problem last year
move him
at some
around.
point.
Because you
Yeah,
saw
no, and today
that sack that he gets, it's from the slot.
which one was it? I think it was right before. I think it was right before the Chargers got the ball for the final time. He was the one covering the receiver that went out for a route, and he ends up swatting it out or swatting it down, and then he got hyped, and that's when the Chargers took the ball and they came down and they won it. Obviously, the fumble happened and all that, but like Derwin makes plays. That's why you need him around the field in different places, and that's why I think if Brandon had his perfect defense, he'd have two safeties that are just better.
Yeah.
Or like they're up to that level where he doesn't have to worry. Because I mean, there's no way you can tell me he doesn't worry when Nas and Elohi are back there. I mean, they're okay players. They've gotten better, but it's not at the level where like you could just leave them both of them back there without having Derwin. Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, another cause of concern was stopping the run. They ran the ball 35 times. Now Bleacher Report is saying, Little Wayne calls out Aaron Rodgers. I wonder what he's going to say on and ding me, whatever the hell anybody wants. I'm interested to see what he's going to say on the Pat McAfee show this week because Pat's going to ask him about that. So the Atlanta Falcons, 35 rushes for 201 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's not good.
Nope. Because you saw even when they would load the box or the line of scrimmage, they were still getting out. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, what more can you do? You have to be physical up front, have enough football IQ to understand, like, if the lineman's shielding you away from a certain gap.
Hold on. Let's go right now to Justin Herbert. He is speaking to the media. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, it's huge because everyone's competing and, no one's giving up and everyone's doing their best all throughout 4 quarters or however long it takes. And, those are games, like you mentioned, maybe a couple of years ago, they go a different way. And, we felt that in 2020 when the record did not go our way and things, kept kind of snowballing out of control. But the way that guys have battled over the past couple of years to really turn that around and to fight for every win. And, it's not easy. It's never easy in the NFL. And that's a really good football team that we played against. But for those guys to be able to step up, deal with the punches, the adversity, and answer, I thought that was huge for us. I think we only had a couple plays in the first quarter, and so that's the tough part about the NFL is they've got a really good offense and they got the ball moving and didn't get a whole lot of possessions in that quarter. So it's on us to make the most of those possessions when we get them, and so getting the first down and just getting rolling and it's always something you can do better. You're always trying to go down the field and score, so it's just executing and for us to be better. Mm-hmm. Was there another question on that, or?
Well, it was more of just trying to figure out why it is that way. You guys have offensive personnel, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to ask Justin, like, why is there struggle and then why they kind of pick it up, but Justin's just more like outsmarting this guy in a sense.
Yeah. And obviously we're doing everything we can to go out and execute and get the ball moving, and it hasn't gone our way, and we're not going to give up. And like you said, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, there's more than just one quarter, and it'd be great if we're scoring 20 points in the first quarter, but we're going to do our best to adjust that, to fix that, and get after it.
They act like they're going to get a soundbite off them. That's the funniest part.
Exactly.
Like he would rather say probably I plead the fifth than answer some of these
questions. The first soundbite was good though, like what he said.
Yeah.
Like in the first one, he's like, "Hey, we would have lost these games like back in
a few years ago."
It's
yeah,
better
exactly.
Each week. I think time is the best thing for it. Is just to heal, recover, ice, do everything I can, in the treatment room to do my best on Sunday. And it's one of those things that you just have to kind of go through with time and making sure that you're not getting in harm's way, not taking unnecessary shots, things like that. But it has gotten better. And
Okay, they're just asking him about it now about the ribs
Injury to
still.
ribs, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, that to me, from my point of view, Frown, I think has been the biggest difference between Staley and others. Where it's like I understand the record doesn't reflect what this team is capable of, but I've always believed that they're in those games, they're bought in, they want to execute, but just it's the NFL, like Justin says, things happen. It doesn't always go your way. And I don't know, like ever since he came in, I've always felt a lot more hyped for these games. I always felt that there's a chance at least that we're not gonna that the Chargers aren't gonna just piss it away like they love to in years past.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is that when you have guys like Derwin, Justin who believe in it, and that's the thing. Even like the other day, we and Gilbert would get us with another ding. A couple of days ago, I was listening to Larry Roundtree, who was on the Coach JB show,
Shout
and
out,
he
shout out.
said, yeah, he said a compa, he's a compa, he's jumped on with us
He is a
before.
Copa. He is a Copa.
So he said he's like, we believe in it because like JB's like, dude, I get frustrated sometimes watching Staley go for it on fourth down. He's like, but we don't. We want it. Justin Herbert wants the ball in his hands. These guys want the ball in their hands and they want to win it. So obviously, I mean, they don't care about what anybody says outside. It's as long as the guys in there believe, and it seems like the guys do. I mean, Austin comes up to the podium and he'll be like, it's like Coach Staley tells us. It's like Coach Staley tells us. And that's another thing that Larry said on the on JB show. He's like, we know exactly what we're going to do on offense, on defense, and on special teams. Like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I'm an offensive player. I know what the defense is going to do that week, what their game plan is. And I know special teams like, oh, no. And he's like, no crap, you guys do. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, we know exactly what we're going to, everybody knows exactly what we're going to run. Because on Thursdays, we all sit together and we go over the game plan together as a whole team.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. So, I mean, it's not that if people say, oh, Staley's lost the locker room, I wouldn't believe it just because I know I'm in there and I see it. And I'm like, there's no way these guys believe in what he's saying. But let's go real quick to Brandon Staley and see what he had to say about the bench.
Yeah, Eric. I think Dre had 4 out of his 5 catches were third down catches. He's mad that he didn't score down there. But just has been fantastic for us all year, as you know, and with Keenan and Mike out, a bunch of guys injured, those guys have stepped up, and this was a real feature game for Josh. I thought you saw the type of receiver that we believe he is, and he got his opportunities today, and he really took them and ran with them. So it wasn't perfect for him, but I think you see why we feel the way we do about him, and I really thought those 2 guys were real bright spots for us.
100%. Even Michael Bandy got some touches. He's low-key a fan favorite. Everybody loves a good underdog story. But, like, that's the thing, right? If I can have my time, Mr. Chairman. We talked about identity before we went into the bye week. This is the identity you have to have offensively, where it's like it's not going to be sexy. It's not going to look great. You're not going to be on top 10 ESPN every freaking Monday or whenever the hell they run it. But you just have to be effective. Get at least 8 to 15 play drives, control the clock, be physical up front. One thing you can have is freaking bonehead brain farts, like not knowing whether it's a run play or a pass play and going downfield. That was a huge killer. That pisses me off. I hate seeing that. I've had a few of those this year, and that drove me crazy in the film room. But it's
the
like
illegal man downfield.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Lucky enough,
I know it's happened a couple of times to the Chargers this season too.
Yeah, our refs suck and they didn't call it, but I was still pissed in the film room and I let everybody know. But if you just have this type of game plan where you're smart, you're effective, you're working to the strengths of the people you have and all the strengths of them, like not just, you can't just, in my mind, you can't make a game plan only for Mike and Keenan. And like, I guess Austin, when he's in there, like you have to have other guys, because what happens when they take them away? Well, then you have nothing for anybody else. And you're just hoping to God, the son of Odin can make a freaking play, which obviously you trust him and everything. But
speaking of the son of Odin, this is what Brandon Staley had to say about his quarterback and how he played today.
Not really. I was next to Justin, and for this particular one, and he was the right guy to be next to because he had done such a good job in this game, and felt like he played a beautiful game, and it was good to be next to him and have it go down because you knew that he really had to hang tough and play quarterback, and that's what he's had to do this year. When so much has been changing around him, he's really had to go play NFL quarterback. because this is what it is in the NFL to play quarterback, to play it like this. He's been able to play it straight up, and he's been able to affect his teammates. I thought he was great today. And you find him after you knock one of those down, and it doesn't get any sweeter than that.
Exactly.
And he was right. Like, Justin played a good game. Emmanuel Acho again. I apologize. I know you're not gonna. I know you ain't gonna be happy with that. But definitely an interesting game from them. And last but not least, Brandon Staley on the team being rugged and going out there and playing tough.
After 7 games, you get a real accurate picture of the fight in your football team, and then you've had to experience all these things that most people experience in a full season. Well, we did it in 7 games, and so we had to experience a really tough loss where a bunch of guys went down, Jacksonville, and then we had 3 straight wins, 2 on the road. We had, when we were full strength, we had 2 of the toughest games to start a season, and I felt like we played incredible football in those games, and they didn't go down, but I felt like our team knew, hey, at 4-3, when we can look back on it and say it was tough, it was rugged, but here we are. And then I think what a game like this does, because again, we had a bunch of guys out for this game, is that we were able to go on the road against a team that was playing outstanding football, a team that could have a much better record than what they have. Arthur's doing a great job with that team. And you're able to win a quality game on the road after hanging tough. And I just think that shows team chemistry. That shows the ability through a game for coaches and players to figure it out. I thought the adjustments were good. And then I thought, like, in the fourth quarter, when you got to play your best, when your guys got to play in the clutch, I thought that we got that on 3 phases. And I think that's something that whether we had won or lost, we got that type of level of play. And that's what we need to fall back on, is not whether we win or lose, but how we play, how we compete. And that's what our focus is on us, on the Chargers, and how we compete, how we play. And if we do that, we're going to be able to continue to improve and get some guys back and hopefully be playing our best on the stretch.
That's
So
the thing.
my thing real quick about Justin, just real quick, because I know we got to get out of here. The thing with Justin is it takes a special kind, and this is what some people don't understand. And I know they're out there, they look at the stats and everything, but they don't watch the games, but they know.
Numbers.
They know exactly what's going on. Clown. And that's it still ticks me off. I don't know why.
Well, you saw real quick to interrupt you. He was already tweeting on his magic fingers. He was like, 2 and 2 drives, has 9 for 9, 111 or whatever, 2 tuds. It's like, really? With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, are you serious? Yeah, well, and I'm not even trying. My message on regular Compass, if you guys haven't checked it out, people obviously don't know how to read, or don't know how to listen anymore. Apparently they don't like reading either, so I don't know what the hell. They just like blabbing, I guess. But people, and yeah, this is my rant. People go and they just because of the title, they didn't listen. They didn't bother to listen. I said, we need to stop comparing Tua to Herbert to Burrow to even Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts. All 5 of these quarterbacks are different. 4 of them have been successful so far in their career. The 5th, we don't know what's going on. Tua still, they all have their deficiencies. Yeah, today Joe Burrow went out there and they won, and they beat the crap out of the Carolina Panthers. But then last week, he had a bad game on Monday Night Football. And then let's go to Tua. Tua's had some bad games. Sometimes he underthrows the receivers. Or receivers are just able to make good plays and pick it up. Justin Herbert sometimes has bad games. Why? Because either he's missing weapons, or it's just the team scheme well for him sometimes, and they throw a lot at him, and the team just isn't good around him. So I just said, don't compare don't compare them. Just let them be their own quarterbacks. And then people, obviously, because of the headline and all this other stuff, just jump at me. And I'm like, why don't you listen? Creative listening first. Listen first, and then go, okay, yeah, I believe this. But whatever. I'm not angry. But I am angry. You have 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth.
Yeah, exactly. But they like to use the mouth more than they do anything else.
That's right. Waste oxygen.
So what I thought, it takes a lot of patience for a quarterback, and a quarterback like Justin, who has a howitzer for an arm, who his decision making is obviously up there. He knows exactly where he wants to go with the football. He knows what to do, contrary to belief. He knows exactly what kind of a quarterback he is. For him to be patient today and be like, okay, I kind of need to relax a little bit. I need to just make smart plays, move the football up and down the field, do what we need to do. Today he hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different receivers.
Let's
5 is a
go.
little bit. No,
Yeah.
5 is a little bit.
Hey, but it's
There's
better than
times
what
where
it's
he's
been.
no. Hold on though. Usually he hits 9 to 10. Why? Because he has Keenan, he has Mike, he's spreading the ball around. Different guys get open. There's a lot of substitutions, blah, whatever. But today he hits Palmer for 8, Carter for 5, Gerald Everett for 5, Michael Bandy for 5, Austin Ekeler for 7. Why? Because he knew that those are the guys he had to trust. Those are the guys that were going to win them the football game. And that's who he ultimately trusted in the end. And it took him to victory. Now, is it going to take him to victory in other weeks? I don't know. Next week, they play the San Francisco 49ers. That defense is lethal. The 49ers run game is lethal. They have Deebo Samuel. They have Christian McCaffrey. They have playmakers. They're going to use them in different ways to exploit the Chargers' run defense and maybe exploit the Chargers' lack of run ability, because the Chargers ran the ball 24 times for only 91 yards.
Yeah.
That's not pretty good. But I mean, hey, we'll see what happens. But Joshua Palmer, 8 catches, 106 yards. DeAndre Carter, 53 yards. Gerald Everett, 36. Michael Bandy, 26. And Austin Ekeler, 24. So I'm just saying, Justin Herbert showed a lot of patience, a lot of grit. He stood in the pocket. He took a lot of hits. And you're like, okay, he commanded the game. And that's why, like I said, like I told Dan earlier, after Roman Reigns on WWE beat Logan Paul, there was a funny scene. And I told him, hey, if Justin Herbert wins without Keenan Allen, without Mike, and without some of these other players, this is the video I'm going to show you. And it's Roman Reigns after with his handler, Paul Heyman.
They can make a meme out of that. Get someone who looks at you the way Paul Heyman looks at
Roman Reigns, but he calls him the tribal chief, and it's just a small WWE joke. Don't get all whatever, but it's just funny because he's like, "Oh, you're my tribal chief. You're the leader. You're the guy," and I'm like, "That's exactly how the head of the table. That's exactly how Dan Dan would have welcomed Justin Herbert off of the field today with the victory. He would have been like, I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. I acknowledge you as the best." So, but definitely, like I said, Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't say it better than any of us.
And now go Chargers, go.
Obviously, the Chargers
get for the program.
The Chargers get the victory 20-17. Yes, it was ugly. Yes, there were some bad moments, but ultimately they get the victory. Now it's going to be interesting moving forward, because next week it's Jimmy G. It's the 49ers. 49ers are riding high, but they've had their share of they're coming off their bye week as well. But they've had their share of they lost to Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. They've lost them to some inferior teams, but in my opinion, I feel like this is going to be the receiving core that the Chargers are going to go out there with on next Sunday. If Keenan comes back, then that'd be miraculous, but I just don't see it. Maybe Mike might be the one that maybe might be able to come back, but they said a couple of weeks, so I just don't see either one of them. No, I don't know. Mike is one of those guys that kind of heals up faster. Remember 2 years ago in 2020, he got hurt in practice. They said he wasn't going to play. I think ESPN wasn't going to play against Cincinnati, and then Mike dresses for Cincinnati and ends up playing. And he had a good game. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen, but definitely, like I said, they're 5-3 now. It's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward. But yeah, no, Charger fans right now, just take it. Remember, relax. There's a lot of season still left. Guys are going to start coming back, but like I said, just for right now, they had a good game. Justin Herbert led them down the field. He was very patient. The defense needed to get stops when they needed to, and they did. So definitely a good showing, but there are some causes for concern moving forward, especially with some of the other stuff, some of the stuff on defense that you see. Today, I think this was one of Kenneth Murray's weaker games. I didn't think he had that strong of a game today. So there are some cause for concerns moving forward, but for this Sunday,
Trey Pipkins is out for serious time. Having the San Francisco 49ers with that front, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, but for the time being, they end up winning. They're 5-3. Dan, who are you? Who are you giving a cerveza to today?
I'm gonna give a cerveza. Let's see. I'm gonna give the dog himself, Derwin James, dude. That guy's a stud. All over the place, going up against the lineman. He does not care, dude. Getting a sack. Dude's just a dog. Oh, you know who else? Oh, I already did it. No. Yeah, I already did it. I was gonna say Bryce Callahan. He's been a dog.
Well, I'm gonna give it to the guy who deserves it the most, Cameron Dicker, the kicker.
Yeah.
So he deserves it definitely. He 37-yarder, he hits it, he wins the game for them. He gets carried off the field. I love how he's like, guys, I just won the on that video that we showed earlier. I just won the game with a kick. It's just funny. Like kickers usually, besides Pat McAfee, not a lot of them have that much personality, but it's funny to see. But guys, thank you guys so much for sharing this time with us on What's Up, Bolts. We appreciate it so much. Don't forget, go check out House of Horns. Don't forget to check out Combat Compas. This week on Combat Compas, I will be talking Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns. I know some people are, especially Hilberto, are like, Roman Reigns. Why are we talking about Logan Paul? Man, I'll tell you one thing. That kid can wrestle. And if he really did tear his ACL and his MCL and he's going to be out for about 6 or 7 months, that's a shame. I really was excited to see him at WrestleMania and in person to see what kind of what kind of a wrestling match he could give at WrestleMania. But I'm going to give more of my thoughts on that and on the pay-per-view that was in Saudi. And then obviously regular Compas this week. We'll have all the good stuff this week for regular Compas on the beat. And we appreciate you guys again for checking us out. Thank you guys so much. Dan, you got anything to say before we head out?
Enjoy it. 24 hours on the 49ers.
This guy sucks.
Whoa. I think Gilberto just
trying to trash me? Yeah, I bet he did hack it. I bet he did hack it over here loose with the keyboard over here. 24-hour rule. It's going to be wild. The thing I'm going to be tracking, seriously, if I was I am a Charger fan, but the thing I'm most nervous about for next week is not even who's coming back, who's going out. You cannot have Storm Norton at right tackle, dude. That's not going to be good.
Yeah, I know that'll be definitely interesting. But thank you guys so much again. We appreciate you guys so much. And this week, again, we will be probably Thursday, we will be releasing the preview episode of Chargers versus 49ers. We'll see who our special guest is. But thank you guys again so much. And have a great rest of your Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, or wherever you're listening to. Thank you guys so much.
That's a good point.
You never know when people are listening, but we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for continuing to rock with What's Up, Bolts.